You play a doctor on TV.
I do. I play one on TV.
And you a doctor in real life.
I know, right? It started because my parents grew up really, really sickly. I just was like, man, this is not the life that I want to live. It can scare you, right? You can be like, oh man, I'm gonna get the blood pressure. I'm gonna get the diabetes. Everybody in my family has it.
Yeah.
Well, you can circumvent that. An unhappy fact for me is the heaviest population is Black women. I consider sometimes weight as padding for pain. It's almost like we start dealing with that and the weight falls off. I don't want to be on a ventilator. I don't want to be on dialysis. I'm not trying to be there. I don't want to live to 114, but I don't have any physical.
You want to live to 114?
For some reason, that's my number. The guy, that's
really.
It's 114. I'm claiming it.
You're almost 50. You're 48 years old. I mean, you look amazing. And so, what does a regimen look like for you? Black women who are coming into your practice, what are you telling them of some preventative methods? Because you say prevention is the key. Your husband is a doctor as well. What has the show revealed to you about your marriage?
We had a lot of stuff on the shelf. And then the shelf started to collapse. There was only 2 screws holding it up, right? The I do too. You know?
Wow.
And so it got to a point where it was like, man, do we still?
Welcome to Vaught Empowers Talks, where we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. But before I introduce my guest for today, I need you to go ahead and do me a favor. I need you to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss your daily dose of inspiration and motivation. But without further ado, I got the good doctor in the house today. Dr. Contessa Metcalfe is the founder of Chastain Medicine in Atlanta, Georgia. Her clinic specializes in medical aesthetics, preventative, occupational, and addiction medicine. Her holistic approach to healthcare aims to treat the whole person, addressing not just physical ailments, but also promoting overall well-being. Dr. Contessa is the star of the Bravo TV series Married to Medicine and an actress known for her appearances in Deadly Attraction, God's Grace, The Sheila Johnson Story, and Beyond the Gates. Dr. Contessa is the Georgia chair of the American Diabetes Association, a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, and a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Dr. Contessa believes food is medicine and prevention is the key to healthy living. Vaught Empowers Talks welcome wife, mother, philanthropist, and health and wellness advocate, Dr. Contessa Metcalfe, to the show.
You made me sound very smart.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I got that, you know what I'm saying?
I'll take it.
I got that vibe. What's up, Doc? How are you?
I am amazing. How are you doing?
It is great to have you here.
You.
Haven't seen you since Mahogany Honors.
I know. Oh, I saw you walking in the park. Remember we were walking, exercising
that was.
Right by the clinic.
Carly. I think you saw Carly.
I saw you too.
You saw me. We were together. Were we together?
Yes,
probably.
Yes.
We were walking to go have coffee, probably in a croissant at the
Chastain.
Were
exercising.
We were.
Okay.
But we were walking with the promise of a croissant.
Yes, of something at the end, a little treat. Okay, I like that.
This is before I found out I have a gluten allergy. So anyhow, but it's a pleasure to have you. I mean, you are the star of a reality television show. You play a doctor on TV.
I do. I play one on TV.
And you a doctor in real life.
I know, right?
I mean, and seriously, with your practice here in Atlanta, you really focus on preventative care, and you are really on a mission to help men and women, not just Black men and women, but all people to really take their health and wellness very seriously.
Absolutely. So it started because my parents grew up really, really sickly, right? So when I was little, my mom was first diagnosed with breast cancer, but even before that, my dad had Crohn's disease.
Oh, wow.
And so we spent a bunch of time. I have 2 siblings, a brother and a sister, and we spent a bunch of time in hospitals and clinics. And I just was like, man, this is not the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to change that narrative, but I want to figure out how I can do it from at least a career standpoint. And so that's what led to my interest in medicine.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you gave your speech at Mahogany Honors, you talked about your mother.
Yes.
You referenced your mother in a speech. Yeah, because she succumbed to cancer.
She did, to breast cancer at 53, but she was diagnosed initially in her 20s.
With breast cancer?
With breast cancer. Her mid-20s.
Wow.
Yes, exactly.
So did she live?
We were little kids, yeah.
She lived with this.
Exactly. And so she actually, what I believe, had a second primary. So some people have a recurrence, right? The cancer goes away, you think, but you get your annual checks. And so after a period of time, you're considered cancer-free. You're in remission. And so my mom had been in remission for over a decade, and then she had another cancer. And so, yeah. And so I do what's also called occupational medicine. So I'm board certified in occupational and environmental medicine. And so I talk a lot to patients and people about environmental toxins. We don't really talk about that a lot in medicine. The way we grow up, a lot of us grow up in big major cities around like all these, all this pollution. And how does it affect you, especially in your formative years, right?
Yeah.
And what you put into your body, how does it affect you? It sometimes activates genes. So when people talk about the genetic aspect of it, right? Sometimes you have genes that are dormant that never will get activated because it's not exposed to things that are going to activate it. Like, for instance, toxins in your food or things that are bad for you. And if you kind of do have some genetic things that you are predisposed to, if you take care of your body, you can prevent that from actually becoming your reality. And so I do try to help people become empowered because I think having that kind of childhood, it can scare you, right? You can be like, oh man, it's going to happen eventually. I'm going to get the blood pressure. I'm going to get the diabetes. Everybody in my family has it. Well, you can circumvent that with your behaviors. So you do still have power. But, I think it's challenging sometimes to convince people of that because it's flashing lights everywhere, hot donuts now, and we all moving fast,
Oh, listen,
right?
When I was in college, I remember I was at Hampton University. I was driving out Coliseum Boulevard, and baby, that Krispy Kreme hot sign came on. Baby, you would have thought that I had some sort of stock in Krispy Kreme the way I busted a U-turn to get into that Krispy Kreme. But it took me at 19 years old to start to, I'm so glad I started at 19, to get my health and begin working out and,
that's wonderful.
Paying attention to what I was eating. And of course it's, grown and changed over the years. But for you were the chair of the Georgia American Diabetes Association.
Yeah. So again, my whole family, my grandmother passed away from complications of diabetes. And it's just a bunch of people in my family have diabetes. And again, Black people in particular, we know we're predisposed to get
77%
you said it
of Black Americans
diabetes are
pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
And so when you were seeing patients
and
in your practice,
it's not genetic.
That
part
is not
people
genetics.
think genetic. So when we talk about the genetic aspect of something, so we're talking about risk factors, and a lot of that is behavioral, right? The foods that you eat, being overweight increases your risk, of course, and so we have to talk about some of the things that we can do from a cultural perspective as far as socialization, right? You don't have to get together all the time. Everything don't have to be Soul Food Sunday, right? You can sometimes, I even tell my friends sometimes we want to get together. It's like, let's go for a walk in the park. Or let's go do something else. Let's go for tea, let's go and go walk around somewhere or, do some art class or something. But everything doesn't have to be centered around food and alcohol.
Food and alcohol.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes you just have to make sure that we are being very intentional, not just for us, but also for showing our children things, because if we are mimicking our parents' behaviors, then our kids are mimicking ours.
Yeah.
And so I try again to, as much as I can, it's all about conversations, right? It's not about preaching. It's not about judging. It's just about learning. I know when I went to college, because I went to college at Xavier, New Orleans. And I remember I came home from college and I said, Mom, I want to be a pescatarian. I'm going to stop eating beef and pork. My mom was like, who you think you are? I was like, and she was really offended. And I remember we had Thanksgiving and I was like, no, thank you to some of the foods. And she really felt like I was being really rude.
Yeah.
Your choice is offensive to other people because they cook this good food for you.
Yeah.
You better eat this good food. What you gonna eat?
Yeah.
And that's what she said. Well, what you gonna eat?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But it's not. Sometimes health choices will make you feel alienated.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people will make fun of me. I've been teased incessantly. I call it fit shaming since I've lost weight and started working out.
So most people would say fat shaming, but you're saying that it's a fit shaming.
I get fit shamed all the time. Girl, you need to eat. Eat what exactly? Because I eat all the time. I'm plant-based. I eat 12 to 14 servings of fruits and vegetables every day.
Yeah.
So what exactly am I not eating that I should be eating? Some processed foods that can live on the shelf for 4.5 years. I don't think I need to put that. If I put that in my body, it's going to live in my arteries for my lifetime. But it's not, again, and I don't judge you, but
Yeah.
I don't ever walk up to someone and tell them that they need to lose weight. I've never once told someone that you need to do this.
Yeah.
People come to me, and if you ask me for my advice, I'll give it to you. But I will never, ever attack anybody. I don't even believe that there is a certain, like I ask people just so they can have a goal. Like, what is your desired weight, or what's your desired BMI? But I don't believe there's a specific number that you should be. It should be where you feel your personal best.
Yeah.
I feel amazing. I can do a handstand. I can do the splits. I can do the cartwheel.
Now, I've been in Atlanta too long, Doc. So when you just said that, I just...
Oh, yeah, I can get a job.
I went...
I can get a job at the Pink Pony today.
Oh,
and I will show them heifers up, okay? And that's what I'm trying to tell you.
I was not expecting this, Doc. It just took a turn. We took a left.
I don't have to, but I could if I needed to. If the mortgage needed to get paid and there was a little situation.
If there was a situation, baby, you could make some things shake.
There's a whole nother lifestyle of a whole nother lane of success that I haven't ventured into that I still could at almost 50.
Well, amen. Well, some of them, they can't pee-pop on a handstand. So what would you tell?
Do better. That's all I can say. Do better. Try harder.
Try harder. Doc said try harder. Y'all ain't trying hard enough. If you can't do it, try harder.
Try harder.
Amen. That was a call to action.
I'm just saying.
That was a call to action.
Yeah.
So there are people who you see who are overweight. And I mean, most of them are Black women who are coming into your practice. What are you telling them of some preventative methods? Because you say prevention is the key.
Yes.
And so what are you telling them of how they can prevent, how we can prevent, some of these onsets and these diseases?
So unhappy fact for me is the heaviest population is Black women.
Yeah. Over 80%.
The heavy of all the demographics of Hispanic women, Hispanic men, white women, Asian, the heaviest population is Black women.
Yeah.
And so I think about that from a perspective of I consider sometimes, because again, I do addiction medicine as well, I consider sometimes weight as padding for pain. And so one of the reasons why I call what I do integrative medicine and why I do addiction medicine and, I practice mental health is because it's never one problem, right? And so a lot of times we find ways of coping with other things that are happening with us,
Absolutely.
Right? Relationship issues, kids that are a problem are not listening to us or not, are we the head of the household because we have to be, not because we want to be, right? Relationships with our moms and our dads, and that all comes out, not just for us, especially Black people, it's not coming out of our mouth because we taught to not talk about nothing. Don't be telling your business. Well, sometimes telling your business is to the therapist, and then we can, what's the first, when it's addiction, the first thing you got to do is admit you have a problem.
Yeah,
if you don't
honesty.
tell your problem, then you ain't never going to fix your problem. But whatever. Okay, never mind. It's a bigger problem than me, above my pay grade. But what I find is that when people will tell me about their weight journey, because they're now interested in fixing that, I'll ask them if they say, okay, I put on a lot of weight. I'll say, well, what happened? Oh, well, my mama died.
Yeah.
Or, I was going through a bad breakup. Or my kid was sick. Or my kid got into a little trouble. Or financially, it's tough for me.
Yeah.
And so you'll find that there is something else going on.
Yeah.
And so it's just the manifestation to me of how much we have to carry. It's a physical manifestation of our mental challenges.
Absolutely.
We are carrying the burden of America. And I don't care what anybody says, but it is tough on Black women. And I think as much as I can talk to them about the rest of it, it's almost like we start dealing with that and the weight falls off, right? Because again, the reason that we're sometimes socializing and eating and stuff is because we need that sisterhood, that friendship.
Yeah.
And we got to find if that's not helpful for us, because the foods that we eat out at restaurants, we know it's super heavy and it's not good for you. You got to find another way to socialize, but you still need that relationship. You still need your friend.
You need the community. You need the tribe.
You need it. And so I try to just help them understand, again, other ways of getting to the goal, because that's really, it's about your journey. I am on the journey with you. I am partnering with you on your healthcare journey, but I have no judgment because it's not mine, right? And so I try to never be really, really judgmental. It does get to be a hard kind of pill to swallow because I do internalize sometimes. And of course you can always see from the outside how to help somebody else, right? You can see it, and they may not be able to see it. But even therapy, like I think therapy is such an amazing thing. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to necessarily be a psychiatrist or a psychologist. It could be a social worker. It could be a counselor at your church, or it could be, again, if it's a pastor or something, or whatever that thing is, or maybe it could be art, because you can do art therapy.
Yeah.
So, or even finding a hobby, knitting, whatever. But it's a challenge for us because we have so much that we're carrying, and a lot of times we don't get a chance to deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, and this is not something that is foreign to you, because even when we were talking before the show started, you talked about your own journey when you got on Married to Medicine. That
Start drinking too much,
your weight,
eating too much.
Yeah.
Oh yes. And I saw it, and my clothes saw it.
Listen, the clothes is always the one.
Right.
Yeah.
And my friends, like, they would, I remember sometimes one of my girlfriends in particular, she's a neurologist. She would just call me and be like, "You're not okay. Call me when you're ready to talk about it." But I'm like, "I'm fine."
And she was watching you on the show?
No.
Oh,
No,
she wasn't.
no,
You weren't on the show
no.
at this time.
She would just see me like on social media,
Okay.
or she'll see something else. Because she did, a lot of my friends,
Yeah.
they don't really watch the show all the time because they're just like, they know me.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they know I don't always, because it's editing, right? So you don't because they only. So let's say, for instance, and when I say the editing, I don't want anyone to think that that's like, oh, it's an excuse. We're talking about just numbers, right? If an episode is 48 minutes and there are 6 women on an episode, then each person is going to probably get 10 to 12 minutes, right? And that's not even including the time that just it's the men or you with your spouse or whatever. And so you don't have enough time to necessarily tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And so sometimes things that are important for you to translate gets cut out. It's not that they were trying to do you a disservice. They just don't have the space to do it. And so my friends would sometimes not watch it because they're just like, that's not how, where's the rest of it? Like, what? That's not how she would have dealt with that completely.
Yeah.
So I know there's more to it. So that's why a lot of times they don't watch it. But for me, I think it's cathartic because for growing up, my mom worked at the post office. My daddy was a truck driver, right? My daddy was on drugs and then ended up going to prison. I am a physician. My brother's an attorney. And if you don't watch people like the Cosby Show that used to be out for us, you don't know that could exist for you. Because my immediate world didn't show me that growing up if it weren't for the Cosby Show. And so seeing a show like Married to Medicine where everybody is educated, and most of us have higher than bachelor's degrees, right?
Absolutely.
And so to see that when it's very few of black, I think it's 4% of black people are doctors.
Yeah.
And we are just underrepresented. And so to watch that for a kid watching that on television, they see that's a possibility for them.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's important. And to see it not just that mama was a doctor and mama, we grew up in the Hamptons and, or whatever, we went to Martha's Vineyard in the summertime. That's not everybody else's experience.
Yeah.
Most people probably grew up more like me.
Yeah.
And so to see that, they will say, if she could do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And then I won, because that's really the message. And then I was in the military. Most people think women don't join the military, men do, and I don't look like, you
were in the Navy.
Yeah,
You went and did your residency between the Navy and Meharry.
Yeah. And then also going to a HBCU. I think it's all the things that I think the show shows the diversity of black people and black experience, even though, of course, it doesn't tell the whole story. But I think it gives enough for kids who are watching, or sometimes people will tell me, oh, I have my kid come in the room and watch this part. And that's really empowering for me, because you don't always think that part translates. You just think all they see is a ratchet. Because reality television is, by definition, conflict television.
Yeah,
period.
Absolutely.
Because you're not watching anything that's boring. You need a little conflict and a little rah-rah for people to have their attention kept, right? So you get it, but it just sometimes becomes a challenge when you're like, man, I feel like all I show is ratchet. And you don't want to only be one-dimensional in anything.
I mean, you haven't been one-dimensional, because not only, are you a doctor and you play one on television, your husband is a doctor as well. And
again, very rare. Two doctor families.
Two doctors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even though for me, again, as a doctor, I know a bunch of 2 doctor families.
Yeah. I mean, but you all's relationship has been a real focal point of the show. And I mean, because you've done multiple seasons on the show, and there's been some real ebbs and flows and some ups and downs in the way you all communicate
Absolutely.
on the show.
Oh my God. Well, the biggest issue for us is communication, and it's always been. And, and it's interesting because it's all about, again, cultures. You come into your relationship bringing the culture of how you grew up in your family, right? And so my husband in particular, so one, we were long distance. We were married for a full calendar year before we lived in the same city.
Oh, wow.
I would not recommend that. And I say that because we didn't even get to know each other until we were already married. So it was always like, I would say like that, you know how you go on an island and you meet somebody or you go on a cruise? It's like that island romance. Like we had a whole island romance before we got married.
Yeah.
And then we got together in the same city and it was just like, oh, wait,
who are you?
This is who you really are. This is who you really are. And it's both of us. And so the way we even like do the day to day had never happened until we were already married and living together. Yeah. And so I'm talking not same state, not just same city. Like I was in Florida and he was in Michigan. Then I was in DC and he was in Michigan. It was just, yeah. And so then when we got together, he's the youngest of 10 kids. He's the youngest of 10 kids.
Wow.
I'm the middle child of 3. And so his whole family, he's kind of like, I always say they're kind of like the Kardashians because there's so many of them and they're so like intertwined in each other's lives.
Okay.
And then my little brother is 5 years younger than me, and my sister is 4 years older than me. And so we're kind of spread out, right? Yeah. And then my sister and my little brother, they basically he was almost like she was a second mom to him. And so that whole like we're not that same dynamic. Like even if I go to Kansas City, I probably will stay in a hotel. And his family would never even consider staying. Like, they just like, where am I staying at? I mean, we're in the house.
Yeah, which house I'm staying at? Yeah.
And it's just so, and even growing up, like, we never did that. We didn't stay at that's what we would say, even though it was our family, we didn't stay at people's houses. Yeah. And so it's like the whole culture of the way that we even addressed family and being together, it just had to change for both of us, I'm not a big house guest person, but we keep having them. Keep having them, like, oh, Lord. I'm the fish, people smell like fish after 3 days. Like, that's me. I gotta leave. And he's like, more the merrier, come on in here. I'm like,
I've never heard that.
You never heard that? After
people
3 days?
smell like fish after 3 days?
House guests smell like fish after 3 days.
That is a new one for me.
Basically, you don't, they should be gone after 3 days is like the limit.
Yeah.
Like their house guests, something to that point. Like after 3 days, nobody, that's too much time. That's kind of the cutoff.
So, I mean, in doing the show and these dynamics, of course, that people don't even know. And when you are into the show, they don't know that you all lived separately for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
they
we're
don't
still
know.
learning. 20 years. We've been married almost 20 years.
Yeah.
20.
And what has the show revealed to you about your marriage?
So one is, it's almost like if you watch a video of yourself, I don't like to hear my own voice. I don't like my mannerisms. Like it's hard to watch yourself. Some people love it. I don't like that. And so watching myself, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm abrupt, and then he will watch himself and he's like, man, I will run away from conversations. I'm a talker. He's more like a clam up when he gets
I would have
angry.
Never gathered that.
I know, right?
Right? It would have never.
And so, and then even like when something happens and, some people like to act like it didn't happen, it bothers me because I'm just like, it stays on my mind and I want to resolve it.
You need to address it.
I need to address it.
Yeah.
And he's more of like, let's just let it go. Let's not talk about it anymore. Yeah. And so those kind of things you put on the shelf, then the shelf starts getting heavier and heavier. Yeah. And so we had a lot of stuff on the shelf, and then the shelf started to collapse. There was only 2 screws holding it up, right? The I do too.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it got to a point where it was like, man, do we still? Yeah. And, I hear so many people who, again, because my mom and my dad actually end up getting divorced, and, you grow up and you figure out that, of course, you don't always have to stay married. Yeah. And if you don't know when the reasons are to break up, because nowadays people tell you shit, break up because oh my God, that was terrible. Just break up, just get divorced. Yeah. Like it's not going to be ebbs and flows in any relationship. Yeah. It got to be a point where I felt like we weren't communicating and we both weren't on the same page. And watching the show, actually helped us to see maybe some of the things that I was doing wrong and things that he was doing wrong, ways we were miscommunicating, ways we were not understanding our communication styles. Like, so I would perceive something in a certain way and he would perceive something in a certain way. But I would always tell him, like, I'm your biggest fan. I am your number one cheerleader. Like, never think that even though I'm abrupt, I'm very clear when I speak, I'm not trying to belittle you or demean you as a man. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I just want you to hear what I'm saying. I don't want any confusion. Again, it's kind of like the house guest, like 3 days. How long?
I mean, but you were in the Navy. So,
Right.
I mean, that's a military background.
And it actually, the Navy was a great opportunity for me to understand the value of that, because in medicine, not just the Navy, but also I was a Navy doctor.
Yeah.
So you have to be very clear in medicine too. Can you imagine your doctor coming in and giving you test results? Well, you know, you had this test and it was some stuff and some
I
things.
don't know,
And then,
like...
I mean, I think you should, like, what the hell are you saying right now? Tell me what is going on. What is the diagnosis and what is the plan? And so I got to be very clear in all my conversations. And I would do that with him. And he's like, you handling me too abruptly. Like you talking to me like, you know, I'm not doing the soft life thing.
Yeah.
And I had to learn.
And the youngest of 10, though.
Yes.
So he was probably babied a lot, you know?
Yeah.
And so he might have wanted that maybe a little bit.
And then as a middle child, I mean, I think I probably got left home most of the time because they forgot I was even there, you know? So you got to get in where you fit in. You got to like assert yourself.
Yeah.
And so I learned that doesn't always work if you want to win, right? If you want if you want to win in the relationship, if you want to win the argument, then do that all the time. But if you want to win in a relationship, there's got to be some compromise, give and take. And you can't be, the winning the argument can't be the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so we had to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And then we had to just say, what else is the reason that we're here together? Is because, of course, I don't care what anybody says, no one needs anybody, right? You're going to make it on your own. You came into the world with nothing, so you'll be able to survive. But you choose. Your life is better with your community. And so it is better if you can find someone to navigate this world with, best friends, spouses, lovers, whatever. And so it is a value to, again, try to make what you have work as opposed to finding somebody on the street and you end up like Risa Tisa. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know what you're getting. And I'm just saying, like, that's the point. Like, people say it so cavalierly, like, girl, just break up. Just get you another man. And I'm like, how's that working out for you, sis? You know? How's that working out? Like, just get on the internet. Get on the internet and find somebody. You just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You trade in, my mom used to say, you trade in one devil for another one.
Yeah.
Or one angel.
So how are you really focused on winning in your marriage in this season?
Well, I think it's more about, I'm focused on making sure I'm clear with my expectations and, again, trying to be a good friend. And that, when it became less of a fight and a struggle, because it was always like this struggle, I need this, I need that. I would just take care of what I have to be clear about what I need for me, and I'll take care of what I need for me. And I would find that I would expect him to handle some of my needs. And he can't always necessarily do that, right? And so I have friends for that. Some of my girlfriends for that, to travel with sometimes if I want to go and do some girly stuff or go for our exercise or walk. But I don't need him to do that. But one thing that he does, I'll tell you, he is a morning person. So today, in particular, I didn't have to go in early. He wakes up, he makes breakfast for the kids. He's done like 10 loads of laundry. Kitchen is immaculate. Yeah. He took the kids to school, and my kids go to 3 different schools. Yeah. And that was before mommy got out of bed.
Yeah, but that's partnership.
But that's the point. Yeah, and I didn't have to ask him to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, but I was up late last night, and he just handled it. And that's what I that doesn't get translated on TV. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That I haven't done laundry. I can't tell you the last time I did laundry. But he folds clothes. He loves laundry. I think my daughter over there talking.
No, my sister's over here trying to figure out if amazing. She can trade.
I know, right?
Ben, because with his laundry.
I'm telling you, and it's funny because even cooking, like maybe because he grew up the youngest and he was with his mom all the time, because his dad passed away at 5, right? So he knows he's a very he's good at that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I don't have to worry about that. Yeah. That's a blessing.
Yeah. But I think that's the dynamic of what, is not translated on television, and we only see those moments where, y'all are arguing and conflict and the rah-rah and all the things that you said. And so when you look at your life as a doctor, as a reality television star, as a mother, like as all the things, what is life teaching you right now? Because you got a lot on your plate.
I love it.
You're filming shows, you're seeing patients, you're doing your own workouts. So what is life really teaching you right now?
I think conflict is normal. I think that's the point. It's like you have to learn how to navigate the conflict. But thinking that life is supposed to be conflict-free, that is just naive.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned. Like I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to relationships nowadays, and why maybe people get divorced so quickly and so easily, is because they believe that conflict means you're not supposed to be together. I go back to what I said before. Conflict means that you guys are from two different cultures. Your family is a subculture. The way I raise my children now, they're going to look for similarities when they're with their new spouses, or even when they get roommates. Just think about when you first moved in with your first roommate. Like, why she do that? Because that's how they did it in their house.
It's only been my sister.
Okay. Well, that's a blessing.
A blessing.
I had so many roommates.
A blessing.
My God. I remember one time, one of my roommates, no joke, in college, this bitch was wearing my watch. My watch. Watch is a very intimate thing.
That bitch was wearing my watch.
I'm telling you. And I was just like, how you? And you're look. And again, if you seeing this, I have gotten over it. But I was just like, I feel like, and then believe it or not, I felt like that was so aggressive. As much as somebody can come and slap the shit out of you, can you imagine you like took your watch off and somebody else put your shit on and go wear it and like look at? I'm like,
it happens all the time.
You wearing my stuff without asking me. And I'm just like, she gonna just walk around. It's like, that's mine. And I thought, I was like, oh, she kind of punked me. Because I was like, right? And that's what I'm saying is like that. But I perceived that as aggressive. She perceived it as this is, maybe she got sisters or something.
Yeah, which is,
this is our stuff. We roommates. We can wear each other's stuff. And I was like, that's my stuff. And so that's what I'm saying. But it was just ended up being a conversation that I had to say, please don't. Yeah. Some things are kind of intimate, like my watch, my underwear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to need you to not do that.
Yeah.
My swimming suits, don't ask me, can you wear my swimming suit?
That's
that's
wild.
really weird.
That's what.
But you know how many people ask me, can they wear my swim? Yeah, that's great. But for me, but that's the point. But would you break up with a friend because they did that?
Yeah.
Or would you say, that's a conversation we got to have, right? Little factoid about Contessa. I don't like it when you take my watch and put it on without asking me. And I had known her for like 2 weeks. And that was what I'm saying. Yeah. It was just a lot. But I'm only saying that to say that as the years go on, and we've been now married almost 20 years, it continues to be things that we have to learn, that it was something, sometimes it was things that had it never come up. But it came up and it was like, how did you do it that way?
Yeah.
And you then can have the conversation, and then you can kind of like take a second and be like, oh, that wasn't personal. It's just the way that they did it in his home, or this is the way he had done it with his friends.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, and I talked to some of my friends and they're just like, girl, my husband watching, he goes to the bar every single day. Wow. And for me, that would be a no-go. Yeah. That would be a lot for me. But for her, she's like, it's fine. It's just what he likes. He likes the bar. He hangs out. He hangs out with his friends, and they go watch the game, and they do this, and that's his, decompression thing.
Yeah.
My husband doesn't do that. He don't go to the bar every day, and I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I'm just saying everybody has to figure out what works for them.
What works for them. Yeah. What works for them.
And that's what we're doing. And that's what I've learned. Like, everything is not a deal breaker. Like, everything is not, sometimes it's just having the conversation. And for me, physical would be a deal breaker. You don't put your hands on me. Because once you learn how to not manage your emotions in that way, I don't need you to practice figuring that out. If they hit you
once, they're going to hit you twice.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I know some people, but then I've also seen and heard of people in certain relationships, and I'm telling you from even patients, that a person had a relationship that was very physical with somebody else, but then they have never been physical with somebody else, So I think there is also, I can tell you, even with certain relationships that I was in, there was a lot more yelling with some of my exes because they operated that way. Mm-hmm. And then some other people, we never had an argument because they just never talked loud. People also have certain dynamics, and there's a yin yang situation. Like there's energies, that's real. Yeah. And you bring certain things out of people. So, but that was what, for us, it really got to the point where we had to really start to have conversations about I think people are using the masculine, feminine a lot. Yeah. But almost like he would sometimes, because he has 5 brothers also. So he would sometimes feel like I was being too aggressive with him and not handling him in the right way and feeling like I was demeaning him. And, that wasn't intentional. So I had to learn to handle that a little bit differently.
Yeah. What excites you about the show? Because I'm sure that there's some real upsides to being on reality television.
I think it's fun. I mean, until I got on Married to Medicine, I got my makeup done when I got married and when I went to prom.
Wow.
That was it.
Wow.
Like the second time
in life.
First time was when I went to prom, but the couple of times when I went to prom, and then when I did when I got married. But then I also,
but you weren't living in Atlanta.
No, I was not.
Yeah, because Atlanta, they get their makeup done to go on a date.
No, I know,
Okay.
right? That's right. And I love girly girls like that.
Yeah.
I'm just not that girl.
Yeah.
But that was, for me, very fun. Like this part, dressing up in the fashion, because it's not my normal ministry, but I do enjoy that.
You would never have thought that, because you give off, like
you.
fashionista vibes all the time.
I'm learning.
Every time I see you.
Look, Britton, if you watching, see what she said? She look at her. She knows what she's talking about.
You be dressed every time I see you in person. You be real cute.
I've learned.
They be talking about you?
No, well, they used to talk about me a lot more, but I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons that I used to never do it, because my mother, again, see, this is the way you grow up, right?
Yeah.
My mother would be like, beauty fades. And so you can't wrap all of your value into your physical appearance.
Yeah.
And, she'd be like, yeah, you're beautiful, you're pretty, but that's not going to pay the bills unless you want somebody to basically use you as a toy. And how do you want to come across? And so focus that attention on your education and your resume and not on your physical. And so that's what I was taught. And so I felt like it was almost frivolity to invest in my physical appearance. And then I'm going to tell you who changed that for me, Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Because, and I may be wrong, but I think and again, I'm not at all equating myself to Michelle Obama, but I do think sometimes your physical appearance can be a distraction, right? If my hair is like this and like this, you can't pay attention to the words coming out of my mouth. You're like, well, she just get that, just
help
do that.
Her, help
yeah,
her,
just help
help
her
her,
child.
God, help
and
her.
that's what so it's almost like you just want to remove it. Like just get together, just be put together so I can hear the words that are coming out of your mouth. And I started to see the value of that. Like
with Michelle Obama, when she became the first lady, or when she started, being in the media.
I'm almost sure she was like, I don't care about this.
I mean, because we watched Michelle's glow up now. Because, when he announced, that's not the Michelle that we see now with these knotless boho braids. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That was a different Michelle. That was different Shelley.
Because her resume, she was, Harvard Law Review.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, she didn't need to. But that's what I'm saying. So I know, though, it does become a point where it can be a distraction. So I just wanted to remove that out the conversation. So I was like, okay, let me get it together.
So now you're all in.
Now I'm all in.
Yeah.
And I won't spend a lot of time on it. I'm not a big, I don't spend $25,000, $30,000 on glam and all that kind of stuff like other people do. And I love Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Ross, all those places. I don't mind getting something on consignment I'm not married. I'm not a slave to spending money on
the
fashion.
labels and stuff.
Yeah, because what's it doing for me?
Yeah.
There's no return on investment for me for that.
Yeah.
And I just never cared about it. So I spent enough time to, again, remove it from the conversation, but that's it.
But now you are so focused on talking about anti-aging and all the things that we can do.
It's all inside, though. And again, when I talk about that, because I do think self-care is self-love. And so I am saying take care of yourself. And if you are a girly girl and getting your nails done or getting massages is a thing that makes you feel joy, do that.
Yeah.
If going on vacations makes you feel joy, do that. Don't go into debt to do something that you can't afford, because that's going to just bring more stress. But eat well, right? Invest in the food. Right.
Move your body.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Move your body. Get your 150 minutes in of aerobic exercise every week.
Yeah.
Do 3 days of resistance training. Drink lots of water. Try to eat mostly plants, and make sure that the food and stuff you put in your body is high quality, because that's going to make you live better longer. But I don't want to be on a ventilator. I don't want to be on dialysis. I'm not trying to live, in a wheelchair where all you got to do is buy me a new robe 3 or 4 times a year and give me a new clicker.
Did you say buy you a new robe?
New robe and buy me a new clicker, because I'm sitting in front of the TV. That's all I'm doing all day. I'm not trying to be there. I don't want to live to 114, but I don't have any physical. I want to be out and about.
You said 114.
That's
you
my
want to
number.
live to 114.
For some reason, that's my number. The guy, that's
really.
In the name of Jesus, 114, I'm claiming it.
114.
114.
So tell our audience, because you are over 40.
Yeah, almost 50.
Yeah, you're almost 50. You're 48 years old. And you obviously, I mean, you look amazing. And so what does a regimen look like for you?
So what I do is in the morning, I'm a coffee drinker. I try not to drink too much, but I drink coffee. And then I will, for breakfast, mostly I'll do like some oatmeal or something like avocado. I don't really like a lot of breakfast food. So I'm into like, I'll eat a salad for breakfast.
Yeah,
or
me
I'll
too.
eat some leftover dinner for breakfast, you know? And then I'll, same thing for lunch. I'll try to eat some like something planned, some salad. But what I also do is I'm pretty regimented in the same, I eat kind of the same thing, right? Some vegetables and a meat, And occasionally I'll deviate and eat out, but it's not like I try to do a lot of super savory, like all this extravagant stuff. I'm pretty bland in my diet. Food is medicine. And so I don't look for pleasure in food all the time. I'm not, I try to just keep it pretty clean. So that's.
So are you a pescatarian?
I eat everything.
Okay.
But
so you eat
plant-based means that you eat everything, but mostly what you eat is plants. And other than that, I'll have some ribs occasionally, but it's not every single day. Like every day is not going to be fried chicken. Occasionally I eat fried chicken, but not all the time. But I try to eat bad as often as I eat wedding cake.
I try to eat bad as often as I eat wedding cake. So
rare. Yeah, but mostly what I do is eat pretty clean. Jennifer Aniston, I don't remember if you know her from Friends.
I'm aware.
So they said when all those years of Friends, every single day she had the same salad, every single day for all those years. And if you ever watch the Kardashians, if you notice, most of the time they have a big old bowl of salad.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was purposeful, that they're showing you that as much as you talk about, how superficial they are, I see them eating very, very healthy.
Yeah.
And so I do, for the most part, I mean, you can throw some extra different stuff in there, right? But I try to eat mostly, that's how I get I eat a lot of salads and stuff.
Yeah. I'm right there with you with the plants. I'm a plant-based girl. I was vegan for 5 years.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
But I, went back to eating fish. And so every now and again I'll eat fish. But mostly, I'm plant-based pretty much all the time. But
your arties will love it. Yep.
They do.
Yeah.
Like all these people talk about this cholesterol and all this kind of stuff.
My blood pressure's great.
Yeah.
I'm not even pre-diabetic.
Not at all.
No.
But it is what goes in is what comes out. And so when we talk about...
I meditate. I pray.
Oh, good.
This is not trying to flex, but we do have a sauna in our house. And
you said it was not trying to flex.
It's not, but I'm just being honest. I do go in the sauna.
Oh,
sauna's good for you. And so if you don't go into the sauna, if you don't have one at your house, then again, I feel like that was really...
It's not. No, it's not. I promise.
Okay. Cut that
I
out.
promise. You're not the only person who's come over here that has a sauna.
But at the gym, that's one thing to do. Go into the steam in the sauna. That's really good for you. I don't do the cold plunge. I really keep hearing good data about cold plunges.
Know.
I can't do it.
I'm not there yet.
I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack.
I just do. I keep like looking at it. They do it at Solid Core every now and they'll have like a plunge. No, I'm not. They'd be like, who's going to go out and do? Not me.
Not the kid. No. I almost went on this like retreat, this like, kind of wellness retreat. But a big part of it was they were going to this whole like big lake where you do the wellness, like the cold plunges every morning. And I was like, I don't want, never mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So meditation is a part of your regimen.
Yep. I
the
exercise.
praying and your exercise. Walks. Yeah. And walks. And so I want you to talk though, because it's not just about that. It's also a mindset.
It is.
Because you really talk about this mindset on wellness.
Yeah. So the other thing I do is I'm a big visualization person. It's crazy how every single thing I've ever written down and put in front of me has come true. Every single thing.
Yeah.
All the way down to 1 year, I put a salary on the wall and I made that salary, exactly that salary. And it's just insane how writing things down focuses you. So and then the other thing I did, if my daughter has my phone, and people will always say, oh my God, that's your body. So 5 years ago, I took a picture of Sierra and she was standing up and Russell Wilson was like looking at her from a distance. So you see him in the distance, but you see her body. And I cut her head off. So you don't see her head, but you just see the body. And now on my phone, people are always like, oh my God, is that you? It took 5 years, but my body morphed into that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I started to be very intentional even unintentionally intentional about the changes that I was making to get my body there. And so now that's what I'm saying. So you have to be intentional too with visualization. So around you, you got to have pictures. You got to, on your phone, your screensaver should be things that you want to achieve. You know, writing things down. In my cabinets, when you open my cabinets up, there's all these things that I have. I do all these meditations. I do these affirmations. I do all that. And whenever somebody is like really negative, if I can, because sometimes it's a family member, and so I have to minimize my exposure to them, but I do my best to minimize people around me who don't speak like affirmations or positivity into like what I, like whatever it is. I've said some really big things that I want to achieve, and it's just crazy that they were like, oh, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Yeah. Because that's what people are doing. When they're saying what you can't do, they're in their head figuring out what they aren't capable of. Yeah. And they're extrapolating it on you. So I started to eliminate those people. And then the things that, I want to come true have come true.
What are you looking forward to in this season of your life?
Oh, man, my kids, man. So now at this point, I feel like it's all like butter. It's all
We got a future college student sitting here with us today.
Yeah, no, my daughter. Yeah, so she's a sophomore.
Almost there, yeah.
Yep, my sophomore daughter. My son is a freshman, and my little one is in 5th grade. And so I know at this point, it's all about making them, teaching them how to be Metcalfes, right? So investing in, and I bring them, until you tell me I can't, I bring my kids everywhere I go, because I want to spend as much time as I possibly can with them, because it's finite, the opportunity I have to teach them. Because at some point I got my foot in their back, because they have to get the hell up out of this, this nest. This ain't your home. This is a nest. This is temporary, fly birdie. But I'm trying to teach them all the things so they can. So they won't be surprised. It's not going to be a shock when it's time for them to go and thrive. Yeah. But I try to spend as much time with them. I try to figure out their dreams and goals. And, when they on the shits, then I'm there to pull it back too. Because I just got I got an email about one of my kids not doing their work. And I'm like, we just been home for like a whole week off, and you had 11 assignments you to turn in? I went and took that computer out of, I took the monitor, because I just wanted to be an asshole. I was going to be like, I just want you to go in and try to turn your computer on, and you'd be like, oh, my monitor's missing. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to take the cords. So then.
So you just petty.
Oh, I did. I'm because if you ain't doing your work, what you need a computer in your room for? You will earn that back. But I'm not even to the, you don't have to get straight A's. Yeah. I want you to know that you've worked hard. You've done the best you can. Yeah. Right? Because school ain't easy for everybody. But if you don't turn your work in, that's just intentionally, not doing your, where they do that at? So so again, that was me also not paying attention, because it wasn't, and you got a whole tutor. And the tutor is funny, because we have a wonderful tutor. And I texted him and the tutor together, and she was just as pissed. What? You didn't tell me, you didn't do that. And so, I didn't mean to say which one it was, but I guess I just did.
It's okay.
I'm petty. I am petty. I'm like, when he came, I was like, don't even talk to me right now. I don't have nothing to say to you. I'm like his girlfriend. Don't talk to me. How you gonna not do your work? So, he completely can. He just chose not to. Yeah. And so, but that was me not paying attention. If it was one assignment, that's one thing. But 11, Mama had her foot off the brakes or whatever, or on the brakes or off the wheel. I don't know, whatever you got it. However you say it. I was not paying attention. So that's my fault. Yeah. And I guess one assignment, I didn't get in trouble. 2 assignments. So he was like, yo, shoot.
Let me just see how far we can go with this.
And I'm still playing my video games and doing my stuff. So that's what I have to now, is all about them. Yeah. And paying attention and making sure they're okay.
Yeah. How do you pay attention to all the other things? Because paying attention as the mother, paying attention as the doctor with the patients, paying attention as the wife, it can all feel very daunting. Is there balance?
Yeah. So when I'm in the moment, with you, this is your time, right? I mean, I don't need my phone. My kids, they doing their thing. This is your moment. So I'm going to give you that 100%. And that's what I do. So when it's your turn, I'm giving it to you your whole entire time. And I do try to do stuff with each kid individually, because they're all very, very different. Yeah. And clumping them together doesn't work. because they all operate and they like different things. And so I try to spend time with each of them. And I want them to, God forbid, I live to 113 and not 114. And one day I have to check out of here. I want them to remember how important they were to me, because they are indeed the most important thing. But it's also that I want, again, to teach them that we have to be good citizens of this world, and we have to leave it better than we found it. Like, that's our obligation. Like, we are parasites indeed. We take so much, but we have to give a lot back, and you have to invest in what's around you. And so I try to do that with them. They are privileged because, and I remind them of that as well. If I could do one thing right with my kids, I do not want them to be judgmental and to think, what they've experienced and the way that they've grown up is that to be the normal way that everyone, because they are privileged. And so some of the things that will come their way will be as a direct result of that. But don't ever judge somebody else who didn't have your opportunities and be like, you should have done this. You just be happy and blessed and be, for the grace that God has shown you for whatever reason, and do something with that. Take that and do something. Give back. And that's what I'm trying to teach them. How to not be little assholes. It's too many in the world. It's too many. It's so disgusting. Like, oh my God. It's like, it's insane how many people are raising.
I mean, absolutely. There really are. But I mean, you said something, this grace, right? That's been extended to us. What role has faith really played in this journey? Because many ebbs and flows, many different iterations of you along this journey. How has faith really shown up?
So interestingly enough, my children, the two older ones in particular, are very religious. So we go to church every Sunday. We volunteer at church. My kids go to camps. They go to retreats. We are very, very involved in church. And it's more than church. It's also, my daughter actually, she makes me better. Like, if you go on her Instagram, you'll see all these, like, she's a strong Christian, and all her post or repost is a lot of religious stuff. We started out at Christian school, so I think I just caught them at the right time to where it became so important to them. But Christ is such a big part of their life. And again, that is important to me. I tell them, and I get annoyed on Sundays when they treat Sunday any differently than Tuesday, right? What do we do on Sundays? We go to church. The same way on Tuesday. Don't be waking up, playing video games. You get up, get ready for church. Church is 1 hour long. You can get it together, keep it together for that. But
y'all go to a white church.
We do. We go to a mixed church. Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
It's an hour.
And let me tell you why. So the church that we go to, they actually use, their slogan is, the church was designed with kids in mind.
It totally is. I know exactly where you go. I mean, and it is that me and my sister were talking about it, because my nephew, he has not been churched. Okay. He has not been churched at all. Not like how we were. We were there every day, all day, during the week, all the different things. That has not been his life, right? And so we think that, the church that you go to is one of those places where they do really focus on the children.
It's Willy Wonka land. It's crazy. So the way we actually switched to that church is we were going to a really huge, amazing, black church. Loved it. And so we visited that church one Sunday. The next Sunday, and I tell you, we were at that point, we used to live in Fayetteville.
Oh, wow.
At that point, the next Sunday, our kids had gotten up, gotten dressed, and said, are we going to church?
Oh, wow.
So our kids asked us to go to church. That had never happened before. And at that point, they were like 8. So if my child is asking me to go to church, that's the church we're going to. And the other thing I love about that church is it's no matter what time you come, say, for instance, you 30 minutes into the service, the children's church is never closed. And they always are like, no, I'm happy you're here. We're 30 minutes late. It's okay. Drop your kids off, and they treat them, because I volunteer at the kids part, but they train you to make people feel like, I got your kid. For this hour, you can go focus on the lesson, and I got this kid. And they entertain them the whole time. And then the other thing I like about it is, with each level, the teacher moves up with the kids. And so my kids have a personal relationship with their small group leader. That sometimes they've had for 4 or 5 years.
I love that. I mean, I think it's so important. And so many parents who live in Atlanta go to that church because of the church. Of it. The way they because of the children. Really, really phenomenal. So I love your commitment not only to your family and your marriage and, your patience, but, I want to know in this season of your life, though, what are you committed to? What word are you committed to? What are you living by in this season?
Man, I think again, philanthropy. It's all about philanthropy at this point. Because again, I feel like the blessings that my mom passed away at 53. I ain't going nowhere no time soon. And again, the way that my kids have had an opportunity to be around two healthy parents.
Yeah.
Like you have to show gratefulness and doing more than just with words, right? I give back. I do a lot of matter of fact, I'm leaving here and going to a benefit. Actually, I'm about to do Dancing Stars Atlanta.
Oh wow!
I know, right? Isn't that funny?
That's cute.
I know, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But the benefit is for the Alzheimer's Association, and my grandmother, my dad's mom, passed away from complications from Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And so again, it's all about fundraising, right? But it's all about making sure that people are better. The people who don't have the blessings of good health and money and jobs and stuff. How can you help them? Because we're all a community, right?
Yeah.
As much as this world's about to change, right? Project 2025, I know it's going to be tough on a lot of people who unfortunately are not of, means, because it's really seems like this new world is going to show preference for people with means.
Yeah.
And so the ones who have means, what are you going to do to help people who don't?
Yeah.
People who don't have good health. How can you help them? How can you help people improve their quality of life? And that's what I'm trying to do right now, because I feel like it's a blessing. All of this, everything right now is a blessing. It really is.
If you had one piece of advice to give our audience as they're on their health journey, one piece of advice that they got to take with them, if you stick to this is your key.
Perfection is a lie. I mean, as much as I try to eat great all the time, I will sometimes not. As much as I try to hit my goals, I don't always do that. But you can't use that to be the excuse of falling off, right? And so if I make a mistake, it's not like, oh, well, man, I fell off my diet, I'm just going to do it for the next, I may as well just forget it.
Yeah.
That was that one, you fell off, so pick it back up the next time. But that's true in anything, right? You f*** up in marriage, do better tomorrow. You f*** up with your kids, tell them you're sorry and keep it moving, right? You gain some weight. Okay, well, enjoy your curves for a while, but then lose them. Lose it if it's not, it'll make you feel good when you walk, you know? So that's what I feel like. You just have to give yourself some grace, but you don't use falling off the wagon, so to speak, as an excuse. So I do addiction medicine too, and I work at a methadone clinic. I don't know if people know that, but I love my favorite patients. No offense to everybody else, but my favorite patients are addiction patients. The reason I love them, and it's so crazy how it's full circle from when I grew up with my dad.
Your dad, yeah.
And I was so angry, and I remember the lesson that my mom taught me that was wrong, because sometimes your parents don't know, is we were taught when we were younger that my daddy chose drugs over us. He didn't. It's called neuroplasticity. When drugs change the structure of your brain, it messes up your frontal lobe, your ability to reason. And so people don't mean to, they don't have the ability to fight that impulse. Just like that hot donuts now sign, right? It's an addiction.
Yeah.
And so my patients that are the most grateful are in the most just they get it because they've lived it. They've kind of let people down over and over again. And so they are so grateful that you're helping them. And they're so helpful about all things. And they feel like every single day now is a gift, right? Some of them have OD'd before and came back from that.
Yeah.
And they're just like, man, I got another chance. And I've let people down, but I'm doing my best every day to show them how I'm trying to be better. And my daddy's even in that phase of his life right now. He's like, I am sorry. And I tell him all the time, don't apologize anymore. You've apologized enough. One apology is all I need. But you don't owe me anything because this is your journey. And that's how people should address whatever it is they're going through in life. If you are cheating currently on your spouse and you want to do better with that, okay, break up or figure out if you're going to be with that new person, but stop causing the pain. You can't, you did it, but you can't continue to keep doing it. And that's what I'm saying. People sometimes will use a falling off the wagon or a mistake as a reason to keep doing the bad or the wrong thing that's not healthy for them. And at some point you have to say, okay, this is day zero. That was yesterday. This is starting afresh. And day zero may keep happening, but it's okay. But you got to keep at least aiming to start over and do better.
Start over and do better.
Yeah.
Dr. Contessa, I have enjoyed you so much on the show. I mean, So many gems. I mean, about not just your wellness and your health, but really wellness in your family, and how that's so important because it's ebbs and flows. Conflict is essential.
Absolutely.
It's essential, but perfection is not the key.
That's right.
Get back on the wagon.
Get back on it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Vault Empowers Talks, another good one for the books. Be sure to like, comment, share, but most of all, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Be sure to share this with somebody who needs, to know that they can start again. Until next time, I'm your girl, Brandi Harvey. Eat well, give a damn, move your body every single day. Peace.